Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of Anitube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week. In this case, from September 28th to October 4th, yesterday. And first, the videos that were not good. Nah. Nope. It's your boy. Exclamation point. Who I've vocalized as my least favorite. There's so much about that. I think it's good to talk about this sort of stuff because he's making choices that I think a lot of people could learn from. As like, yeah, don't do that. So this video, the best worst anime and how to make it. Of course, he's had a habit recently of covering shows that he's very vocal about being not good, bad shows, bad. Instead of the shows he actually really likes. Like in this video, he makes several references to how much he loves Ouran High School Host Club. And that's one of my top shows, bro. You should make some shit about that. Like, why not? You know, you think it's not going to be like, you know, think it's going to do well for your views or something? I don't know. Not a lot of people talk about Ouran, surprisingly, despite it being a pretty well-known show. I would love to have you talk about that, especially if you think it's a 10 and like one of your favorites, and we're kindred spirits, my guy. Please, give me some Ouran content. But no, he talks a lot more about the shitty shows, and he mentions a couple, kind of throws a couple in here in this particular video. But when you're wondering, it's like, all right, what show is he actually talking about? Because clearly he doesn't want to put this title in the title because it won't do well, like it won't spread. Like he's thinking of the algorithm, sure. So now he just leaves you in suspense with what he's actually going to talk about, because this is a 12-minute video. It's actually a 10-minute video because 2 minutes is not dedicated to the meat of the script. Like he doesn't get into the script until like 30 seconds in, and then at about the 10 and 10 second mark, he's like, well, that was a great script. Yeah, then he just kind of talks and, you know, shouts out his patron, which is funny. I'll talk about that in a second. So it's a 10-minute video, and he doesn't actually get to what show he's actually talking about until 6.5 minutes in. He does mention the show a little bit, but he never alludes to it being the actual focus of why he made this video. But clearly he Lost Song is the show, and he's right. It's a show nobody cared about, nobody talked about, and nobody watched. And I'm totally with you, and I'm happy you're covering it. But why do you have to like cover it as in completely disguise anyone from knowing what the subject is until they have to watch more than half of the video? I mean, maybe I could have read the description, but like I shouldn't be reading the description to like find out what show you're talking about. Come on. But no, he talks about The Room for 4 minutes to illustrate the point that he's trying to make, where to make a really good bad anime, you have to, the difference is intent, and like the people behind it have to really care and really put effort in, but it's all hilariously misguided, or like, you know what I mean? And I kind of have a problem with this idea, because the point of The Room, like the marvel of The Room is, yeah, that like it kind of breaks a lot of conventional stuff, and there's stuff that just doesn't work or doesn't make sense, and a lot of people find enjoyment out of it. But that's what makes it a valuable movie. Well, the show that I'm thinking about right now is Cypher. Cypher the OVA is Cypher the video. Literally one of my favorite anime. And not in the ironic bad kind of thing, but like there's so much inventiveness and so much things that are different about it. And it's very off-kilter and weird. And makes so many baffling choices. And yeah, it's funny. And you could technically go by analyze what made it so bad or funny. But I think it's way more interesting, at least with Cypher's case, to talk about what really worked and what made me laugh and what was like really cool about it, in my opinion. So he really could have talked about Lost Song and the things that he liked about it, because he was actually complimenting it at its like shot composition, which I will get to. Hold on. He did not do a good job with that either. His shot composition, he said the music was really good, but he's just talking about how bad it is, and the plot is so dumb. And it's like, sure. And so, like, he makes this analogy. So he doesn't get to. So he talks about The Room for 4 minutes. And in 2 minutes, he talks about King's Game, which is like, he enjoyed it because he hates teenagers. That's what he says. He hates teenagers, and that's why he likes this show. But there's nothing good about it at all. And he's like, well, it's not The Room bad because it didn't have any effort. They just wanted a paycheck. And maybe he's right. Sure. I don't think it's very accurate to assume that of these creators. I really hate when most, especially us content creators, really try to, pretend that they didn't care, or the animators didn't care, or the writers didn't care, or the directors didn't care. And you can't, people put time into this. They had to care just a fucking tiny bit. Like, give people some fucking credit. Criticize their choices. Say they're poor choices, sure. But don't for a second think a person is lazy for creating something, because they created it. It actually got made. A lazy person would be someone who has an idea and never executes on it. That's lazy. So, but that's not just to Expo, but for everyone in general. But he makes that argument, and it's like, you can't say that about King's Game. I'm sure it's terrible, but like, and it's also not the subject of your video. It sucks when like, so it's not that you're wasting my time with the first 6 minutes and not talking about your subject. It's that you're spending that time on something that's not your subject in a video. Like, I always identify the length. Like, if it was a 30-minute video and you took that 6 minutes and the rest of it, the majority of it, is about Lost Song, fine. Make your point, fine. But if it's the percentage, it's the percentage. It's how much are you actually talking about it. You're taking away time that you could be substantiating your point about Lost Song. So I would have loved to learn more about it, but I barely know anything from what you covered. I didn't get a sense. I got some sense when you were describing some of the plot, but it's very difficult of me to do that. And one of the ways that makes it so difficult is going down to his editing style. Now, his editing is unique and takes a lot of effort and time and creativity. I think it's very garish and distracting and not funny. But here is an actual detriment to the show you were talking about, because you do so much more editing with more common objects and he does this thing where he has a script and he basically takes an image of literally what he's talking about. Like, he says book, he's going to put a book on screen. Stuff like that. Or just something literal. Even if he's talking metaphorically or something. Just to be funny, I guess. And so he doesn't use the material of the show itself. He uses maybe some cutouts and one screenshot, but he barely touches the show itself. Doesn't edit or cut out anything. He only shows the initial poster that anybody could look on Mal for. He doesn't use material of the show itself. So I don't get a picture of it at all. He can try to depict it with other objects, but I can't visualize it. And I'm not going to get in that same headspace. And he admits that he was too lazy, that I couldn't bother to comb through the show to look for a shot that would substantiate my point. So he was saying, oh, it has really good shot composition at points. And then he puts up, he's like, and he makes this kind of lampshaded joke where it's like, I'm going to put something on the screen that I don't know what I'm going to show, but it's going to be something that shows this thing, haha. Because I was too lazy to comb through the show, he says. And then he shows an image from the OP. Like, just still shot. And it's okay. It's like an okay shot composition. And he puts up a little sign on the side that says, I couldn't even bother to look through the show, so here's a shot of the OP. Like, openly showing that he was too lazy. And I hate accusing people of lazy, but you're admitting that you did not put the time in to look up this clip. And as somebody who is spending months going second by second, making sure that their video has the right clip for every single bit that they're talking about, fuck you. I'm putting fucking months into my shit. And nobody's gonna watch my fucking shit. Sorry. And you're just admitting that in your video. I forgot to mention, it's terrible audio through the whole video. It's not good. It was weird because he has good audio. He's had good audio in the past, and something happened, and like I don't know what he's recording out of right now. I guess it was something when he moved, something broke or something, and okay. I personally would hold off on making videos until you have good audio, my guy, because this is not good. Bad audio. And the last thing, this is just further, it's like, why would you put this in your video and admit incompetence, right? Like, I don't know why you present yourself and you present a product that you're getting paid $600 a month for to make this stuff. And you're out here saying, like shouting out a patron that unpatroned you while you were editing this video, and you didn't bother to re-record, and you just went with the joke. Like you were you're shouting out a patron, and you call attention that it's a former patron. And you did this full like, how could this happen to me joke, and it's like there's other people that you could be shouting out who are patroning you. Did you think of that? Could you do that? There's people who are actually giving you money, $75 a month, and you can't and you shout out someone that's not patroning you. Granted, the person is was it a patron of his for 11 months, I guess. I don't know why he's able to get away with this. It just sucks. It just sucks. I shouldn't be this pissed about it, but it just, as a content creator, as someone else who does what you do, not for a living, thank God, grinds my gears. Okay, finally get to talk about Kenny Lauderdale, and I am putting it in not good. And I was going to be fair, because his is also a content creator that also kind of grinds my gears a little bit. And it's also kind of a bit of a jealousy thing, because, yeah, he's getting a lot more attention for talking about obscure stuff. He really only talks about, like, OVAs and obscure things, and it's awesome. And I like the content he actually talks about, but I just don't like how he talks about it. It's not all that creative. And the only effort he puts into is, like, getting the actual material, like getting the VHS and like physically. And it's like, yeah, good for you. I don't know. I don't find that all that impressive, especially if what you're having to talk about is like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of how he covered Minky Momo here. It's accurate, and it's certainly giving me information I never knew about Minky Momo, which is great and kind of valuable. But just, it's very flippant the way he talks about it, and you can tell he's gained a lot more confidence in the past couple of videos that he's made. Like if you watch some of his previous videos, and more, he's gaining more of an attitude, more of like a flippant, like, oh, the Minky truck, and it's like, it's made to sell toys, and it's like, yeah, they're all made to sell toys, but nobody watches them because of that, especially when these shows are that old. Like, they're not selling toys anymore, but we're still watching them. Why? Like, I don't know. I feel like mentioning that it was made to sell toys is kind of annoying, personally. And just, that's the kind of attitude he goes about it. He's not necessarily meriting the show itself. He kind of talks about what it's about, but the majority of this video is the meta-textual curse around it, where, like, it's been out of print twice by different companies. There's a weird dub. It's all kind of neat information, but it's just come off of kind of cynical, and it's also like he doesn't seem all that upset about Minky Momo having this fate. Like, a lot of people who talk about like Minky Momo really lament the fact that it's not subtitled right now. Like, we don't even have subs for this thing. We have subs for the OVAs, but the actual series is only just now starting to get subtitles by Senritsu. I don't know. It just kind of made me uncomfortable that he doesn't seem to care about that. Or that he's just like, no, it's too bad, because it seems like a really cool show. He doesn't have that attitude of it being a cool show. Now, granted, he's not Bennett, where he's just shitting on it, but it did kind of have that Bennett the Sage quality to it, of kind of an old-timer and approaching on something in the past and having it kind of, I don't know. It doesn't come... It might come from a place of passion, but it's a kind of passion that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And that's just me. And I could be very misguided about that. But I like what he makes, to a degree. There's just some things about it that kind of rub me the wrong way. And yeah, I'm still putting it not good, because I overall don't feel like... you know, it was weird to me personally. Okay, now for the videos I thought were decent. Just okay. YonkouProductions, Netflix anime originals, and the importance of global collaborative animation. Now that I'm looking at it, it's a very long title. It'd be like an acronym or something. So yeah, he's talking about Netflix and focuses a lot on this, on that kind of Spanish influence. I forgot the name of the show. Focuses on that for a good deal. Doesn't really mention Carol Tuesday all that much, but yeah, it's kind of feeling that industry update that, like, I think Jeff has done a couple of times when it comes to Netflix and stuff, and it's kind of or Canipa, I think, has talked about it a little bit. And it's kind of coming from an industry place and what how they're moving and stuff, and yeah, expressing anticipation and looking forward to a lot of these projects, and coming from a pretty positive place. I think a lot of people who do Netflix coverage like this come off very cynical. It's like, man, it'd be great if they did simul releases, you know? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be nice. And Yonkou does, like, acknowledge it, and it's like, yeah, it would be kind of nice. But he largely comes from a positive place here, being like, this is really promising, and it's cool that they're extending their demographics out, and they're taking advantage of some of these demographics. And it's like, it'll be interesting to see this, and this. And talking about the selection and stuff like that. So I think it was a solid video on Netflix's position right now. Also being fully critical of Into the Anime, like not dwelling upon that, but still kind of acknowledging a little bit. It covered enough information and enough personal perspective that I really like seeing from Yonkou, because he has a really informed perspective, kind of like Canipa, except like very much in that leak, or kind of under, like, I don't know, renegade, not renegade, that's not the word, vigilantism, like anime industry coverage vigilantism. You just drop the tweet being like, by the way, it's 25 episodes, or by the way, it's coming, or stuff like that. He's one of those. And I appreciate him a lot for it. But and I'm happy he makes content like this. It's really cool. Looking forward to more from him. Beyond Ghibli, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Hope and Despair. Obviously a very well put together video by Beyond Ghibli. He puts out good stuff. And if you like Ghibli, I mean, if you like Ava, stupid. Of course you like Ghibli. If you like Ava, I'm sure you get something out of this. I think just kind of echoes the sentiment, and it's a little redundant, I think, in terms of material that I feel like other people have kind of covered this like this, but not in a better way, just an as good way, or this kind of consolidates the epochs. Is that the word? I'm making up words now. Any word can mean what I want it to mean. It kind of captures that whole Ava thing into one idea, and gives it a lot of good attention. I just personally didn't get any stirring, moving, like, wow, kind of really gotten a good idea out of it personally. And I'm happy he covered it. And I'm looking forward to more stuff that he covers. Maybe going a little more obscure next time, because I think he's really good at that. He's generally a great channel. It's just, for me personally, I didn't get anything too new out of this myself. Good video though. MudanTV, overhyping almost ruined Demon Slayer. Now I really like this idea because I kind of agree with it, or just the concept of it. I can imagine people kind of being disappointed after how much people were hyping up Demon Slayer, because I remember how many people were kind of picking up the show after the fact, because not a lot of people seem to start it like as it premiered, but as it progressed, a lot of people more caught on to it until it got way more popular. And that's exciting for it, but I agree. It seems like that kind of show that seems kind of traditional, but a lot of people are kind of overpraising it. Not that I'm seeing Demon Slayer myself, but I kind of figure this will probably be my reaction if I ever happen to watch it, which I don't know. I might not. But for the most part, this is a very standard review from Mudan, talking about his opinion on like the characters and the animation and stuff like that. I like this one point that he makes about Ufotable, where he's like, yeah, it has really cool animation, but I was apprehensive about Demon Slayer, because anything Ufotable is up to, like, yeah, they're always going to look good, but is it always going to like be a story good? I feel like Just because a studio has a lot of, like, a history of not well-written stuff doesn't mean it can't suddenly make one of those. I feel like there's way too many instances of shows like, yeah, just because Dean made these other stupid shows doesn't mean they also made Shogun Rokureku Shinju. You know, like, it's all about the staff itself and the writers. And you can kind of only judge the studio with how healthy a production it is and how consistent the animation is in terms of the whole show. That's some sort of stuff that you can rely on a studio for, and maybe some writers. But at that point, you just look at the writers, right? And this is a Jump property, so I figured it was going to be something like this, but just ufotable level. So I feel like it was worth being excited for. I don't know. I like that he mentioned it, though, because it creates, it's a common conception, I think, in the community. And he's the same as Beyond Ghibli, where he puts a lot of polish and a lot of good stuff into his videos. There's a lot of good jokes, a lot of good side gags that are really creative and, like, obviously takes an elaborate amount of time to make. And so that sort of passion is something I really admire in a creator like him. But a very traditional review otherwise. So I think it was pretty decent. I liked this video a good deal. Good job. Best Guy Ever. Promare triggers blazing thrill ride. And I couldn't read the title when I watched this video at the time because I was on my mobile phone. Nate talking about Promare. And he starts it with, you know, Don and his Gurren Lagann apparel being his all-time favorite, which is a good pick. It was great hearing his perspective as someone who is a big Trigger guy and a big fan of this duo's previous work, Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann. Although I really always like Nate's transparency with his perspective of things. Like, I did not see a lot of in Kill la Kill, but I do need to rewatch it. And I do really like that despite his big ego and, like, his energy he puts into it, he has gotten very good at clearing and identifying that what he thinks is his perspective and his side. And not like, it is this, and not some sort of objectivity like it's some fact. Like, I like that he's very articulate in expressing his opinion, really. And he does a pretty good job summarizing the entire movie. He just kind of goes beat for beat with it for like half of the video, which is why it's so long. And then the other half, he kind of gets into it, which I feel like his perspective was a little lukewarm. Like, he seemed kind of lukewarm in the film because he was just a little disappointed that it's a film and it doesn't have that much depth or complexity that Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill had. And that's totally fair. And he's like, this is why I prefer TV animation, like the TV format to movies, and that's totally fair. Although I feel like at that point you kind of have to take it that it's a movie and you can only get so much out of 2 hours. So he seems to realize that, and he's like, yeah, the spectacle and the animation itself is really good. And for that, I'm definitely revisiting it. I don't think it's a bad movie. But he does express being kind of underwhelmed, especially given being such a fan of these people's previous work. He does give his perspective on what the fire symbolism is supposed to mean. The flames, he's saying, is more to do with hope, acceptance, he said. And that's good. Not exactly what I got out of it, so I was happy that it was a different perspective and not some kind of boilerplate thing. So I think this was a good perspective piece on kind of an informal review of Promare as someone who saw it, because weirdly enough, we didn't get too many videos so far of, maybe because people are waiting to get the actual footage to talk about it, and like, okay, fair, to actually like really discuss it. But I'm happy we got something like this, especially this early. I feel like, while it's still relevant and stuff, and it's good. Decent video. Yep. We're talking about Nux Taku's biggest flexes in hentai video that he did in fact delete and said would delete once he, I think he was like, oh, once this gets 100,000 likes. So if you haven't been paying attention, Nux Taku is definitely going to pass Jeff Thu in subscribers by the end of the year, if not by the end of this month. If he hasn't already. This dude is fucking killing it with these biggest flexes in anime videos. And he's only like the 11th or 12th one right now. And they've been getting him such gangbangers and constant subs. He's grown so ridiculously much over the last few months. And congrats to the guy. And the guy, there's a definite hustle there. And it's really admirable. Despite some of the things that I think you could criticize him for, it's one of those instances where I'm like, I think the results speak for themselves. Not that I think it's just the actual hustle is remarkable. But I want to talk about this biggest flexes in hentai because it is something I did watch because I wanted something to contrast Gigik's last video last week on hentai. This had come out like a day after I recorded that video, so I was like, let's watch it. And he actually talks about hentai, like actually mentions hentai that I did not know, and talks about them. And it's mostly descriptive. It's mostly just kind of describing what happens in these hentai, and maybe over-exaggerating some things, or just kind of like, that is so cool, and kind of a hype beast. He honestly sounds like Keemstar. Like, I don't know if I can, State of the show fall 2019 and other upcoming events. Bronaires triggers blazing thrill ride. Overhyping almost ruined Demon Slayer. It's just so energetic and almost oppressive to the ears. Not in like a bad way, but it's just very like, woo, you know, kind of like you can get into it. And it's a great voice for this kind of like hype videos. But it's just, oh man, it is a flavor. It is a definite flavor. But this was a decent video because he talked about it with genuine interest, even if it was like ironic and he didn't actually want to do it. He actually must, I think he admitted a little bit in the video that he's like, this is not my favorite thing I'd like to do right now. Like, I have much more fun talking about not hentai, but I'll do it for the meme. And that honesty, while still being like, look, I'll do it for, you know, and not out of a, because like there's the explanation point kind of transparency where you're admitting you're a fuck up. And then there's the kind where it's like, hey guys, you know, this isn't my favorite thing. But I'm going to bolster the energy, and even if it's fabricated, it's probably fabricated a little bit, and he's kind of over-exaggerating. But at least he's trying, and he's doing it for somebody, for an audience, and not because it's funny. Not because it's like a lamp-shading thing, and you think you're clever for being self-deprecating. I just don't like self-deprecating humor. It's just not funny. So yeah, I mean, he may not have personally liked it, and you might not never be able to watch it anyway, but I just wanted to take that opportunity to talk about it because I don't feel like I'd be able to talk about one of his other videos all that seriously, just because a lot of them are just not for me. It's just not for me. I like hearing about them from Core, who has to edit all of them. Well, most of them. I don't know who else edits them. I know Core at least does. But it's cool to hear about it, and congrats on your success if you watch. I know Nux follows me too, and he's really cool. He's a very chill guy. I wouldn't mind him overtaking Gigik or the Anime Man, which, in all honesty, is getting kind of likely, which is really funny. Nearly Unread. Okay, this is an update video from Theta. That's because he doesn't really upload on YouTube anymore because he got burned really badly by the Content ID system and getting copyright strikes on his channel, and Sony just kind of went after him, and it's really too bad. So I understand if he's very apprehensive of using YouTube again. So right now he's mostly on Twitch. He does announcements like as like posts, and then he does it on Twitch. But this guy, he started 2 years ago, just kind of popped in out of nowhere, being like, I want to do this analysis thing. And he started with Dialing in the Franxx, and he went episode by episode and talks for like 50 minutes or something longer. Like, if you look at his channel, some of his videos are so long. And they're edited. They're edited of him talking, and it's very scripted, and like actual edit put into it, not like a 50-minute like kind of whatever. And he put them out on like a weekly basis at the time. A really incredible channel, and what's great is a lot of his stuff I don't think is going to age all that much. because yeah, like he's doing analysis as the show comes out, and he was analyzing episode 1 as he saw it and not like with the context of the whole show. So I mean, I don't like that kind of analysis for me personally, because yeah, there's some things you can do, but so much of it is bolstered by speculation and not what actually happens, or you're looking into it much further than the creators ended up looking into it. If you have the piece as a whole, then that's speculation, and then you look at it as a whole and then look back to the previous episodes, that's when you can kind of get some previous speculation and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just not my cup of tea personally. So like, this is just a state of the show, but just this video, I would say, without even having watched this guy, watch this video and see how dedicated he is and how like thorough he is, and like really taking this so seriously, like deadly seriously. He wants to do this full time. He actually wants to drop his current career. I think he's like a professor or something. And this is like an adult. All of us are teenagers, right? Like the majority of us are like my age, or like mid-20s. I think the oldest of us is like Peter, is like Snob or Bob Samurai, right? But this guy is like old, it seems. Maybe he just looks old, but like he seems like an older gentleman, and it's so interesting to see from his perspective. That's so mature, talking about like Land of the Lustrous or Bunny Girl Senpai or whatever, and like kind of analyzing it and stuff. And he's very analytical, and verbose and thorough. So I mean, this is more to shout out his channel, I think, because it's really cool, and I always admire his dedication and like thoroughness, and it's a really cool channel. Even though a lot of the content I personally can't sit through all of it, but it's interesting, and I really like it. So I just want to shout this particular video out, because like he hardly ever uploads something on YouTube anymore. He's mostly doing it on Twitch and doing like these live analytic discussions. Like he's talking about the show like as it's. I haven't seen through any of them, but like it sounds completely different and really different and interesting, and I just like different shit, dude, and it's so cool. It's not everyone's brand of stuff, but like I think it's worth talking about and pointing out. So like, shoutouts to Theta, Neon Red. Check out his shit. Just even watch this like this update video to see how like in it he is. Like he is into it. And I just love that kind of planning and stuff. It's just so cool to watch, personally. All right. And now for the best videos of the week. Yeah! Super Eyepatch Wolf! He made it into the fest! First time I'm talking about him. The insanity of Gantz and why you should care. Now, he's not a perfect creator. I think Kraftsdorf took him down pretty well, pretty accurately. And he's since kind of burnt out, and he's coming back to it with kind of a fresh mind. And he knocked it out of the park with this Gantz video. I was really compelled. I haven't seen anything about Gantz, and he's coming at it with a place of passion, right? Because they did the same with Baki. This is very similar to, it's obviously worded the same as Baki. I did not watch his Baki video. It ended up getting very popular, which is great. But he comes at it with the same level of passion and love for the material, which I think is always the most important thing you can have for a content creator. I think you have to show that you love anime. If you're not showing that, it's so insufferable to me personally. And he just conveys that passion like better than most of us. Like that's probably one of the best things he has going for him. It really made me want to check out Gantz for a while. And then he talked about how like he was very on, and this isn't so okay. I've had a problem with Super Eyepatch Wolf where he's not good at talking negatively about things. Like pointing out flaws and stuff. It always feels very vapid and surface level and dismissive. And he just comes off very irritating every time he describes something he doesn't like. He's always such a downer, and it's insufferable to me. So anytime he talks negatively, I think that's a big detriment to him. He's awful at it, in my opinion. That just doesn't bring it up with any tact. It ruins a lot of his videos sometimes. So like he talks about the negative sides of Gantz, and like this is something it does. And it's like really, and it's spoilers, and I did watch the spoilers because I was like, I need to see this fully. I need to actually fully observe this. And Yeah, I would, and he was very graceful about it, I think. But he doesn't make it a downer. It's already a downer, right? So he doesn't try to insert his own like this sucks. He doesn't really try to make you think it sucks so much, but he's just like that happens. Yeah, you can take that, but I can imagine people not liking that. And he's very good about it, and it was so good, and it let me judge for myself whether I would have like I would hate that. Hearing that's what Gantz does, I'm like, oh, I hate that. Oh no, please. You know. But then he redeems it. He actually brings back a good counterexample. It's like, this is why I love Gantz. And then it's like, oh yeah, that's really so like he had me by the throat, dude, the whole time. I'm like, this is how brutal Gantz can be. This is how weird Gantz can be. This is how much Gantz can suck, and this is how much Gantz is really good. And it was so thorough and like awesome. Loved that video. All right, I'm putting Canipa Effect in the best videos again twice this week because I think the majority of this I was so flabbergasted at how fast he got this video out. And he was like, yeah, I got this out in like 72 hours. I'm like, 72 hours? I couldn't. Like less or something less than that. It was so fast. Because he's suddenly talking about the announcement with the new Pokemon series. And it's another He's so good at talking about Pokemon, dude. So good. I love it to pieces every time he talks about Pokemon. And I hope he makes another video when we get more information about this show. But it was great that he made such a great point. Because despite my reservations about it, and I will be talking about my perspective on Sun Moon in the video that I have written and will definitely make, he is very much right in the fact that it's not boring anymore. It's not a very predictable, they're just going to go to the same, and the movies are going to be like this, and the anime's going to be like this. Here, we don't know what it's going to do. I mean, Sun Moon, we kind of had an idea, but like even then we were like, they're going to stay at the school this whole time? We weren't sure. And X and Y was kind of conventional, but like it stepped up its game so much. Like that was the show that really pushed Pokemon to be a visual sight, like a spectacle, like a thing to watch. You know what I mean? It was awesome. And he's doing a lot of different stuff with the movies, right? And they're giving it to different people and like radically changing the focus and stuff. And he's laying all that out. And a lot of it's very surface level observations, but put in the frame that you're talking, like pushing this stuff together and like, look, this is great. I thought it was awesome. And I think it makes so much sense. I liked it a lot. And lastly, it's another KrisPNatz video. He's made a lot of videos since the last time I talked about him, and I'm not interested in the particular content myself. I am interested when you put Oron in the thumbnail. Let me tell you something. So after Fruits Basket, new shoujo anime wish list, remakes, originals, and sequels. Now I'm mentioning this last not because it's like the best video. It is one of the best videos. I would say it's Super Eyepatch Wolf was the best video this week. This was really great. He talked a lot about some like shorter manga that are shoujo that he describes them a little bit that I'd never heard of, and then we're like, hey, that does sound really cool. He's pretty honest with his opinions about wanting a remake of Oron instead of a sequel, and I'm a little uncomfortable with that as someone who loves the anime. And he's like, no, I like it too. It's just like, it's been over a decade and there's a lot that's different from the manga. So like they could do kind of a brotherhood thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And he comes at it with the same enthusiasm, information. Like you could tell he really cares about this shit when he's referencing so many different materials and stuff. And like, you can tell he's really educated and informed about this demographic, and he really does care about shoujo stuff. And it's awesome. Not many of us, testosterone dudes, who kind of mostly take up anime YouTube, are talking much about this. I feel like a lot of the opinions are kind of something that's like, yeah, we would like a Yona of the Dawn season 2. Yeah, that would be nice. Of course. Or a remake of like Fushigi Yugi. Like there were some surface level observations there, but again, it's KrisPNatz. I think his energy alone carries it, and the further information and like new things that I had never heard of before, particularly manga, It was the manga stuff that I had never heard of it, obviously, because like I don't read that much manga. But it was really cool, and I really liked it. Whew, my throat is dry, and I hope you enjoyed that not as dark episode of Anitube Digest. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Was I too harsh an explanation point? Probably. Dude, I'm sorry. I have to be more tactful next time. You guys have a good week. Yeah, peace.